This is Inside the Crew, your weekly look at all things black and gold. Here's your host, Neil Sika and Dwight Burgess.
Okay, here we go. Round the bend again. Welcome to Inside the Crew on this Tuesday night. Neil and Dwight with you. Hi, Dwight.
Hi, Neil.
How you doing?
It's another day in paradise.
That's it. We want the Phil Collins version of that song?
It's a little mellow for today's mood.
We need to pick it up. I think the Crew fans want to pick up their mood, too. It's been a rough go, hasn't it? Lost 7 of 8. The latest, the 1-0 defeat Saturday at Minnesota. There wasn't much offense there. We're going to be on the offensive here in the show because we've got a lot to get to. Talking with Marcelo Balboa and Brian Sciaretta, U-20 World Cup starting later this week, and Jon Kempin in just a few moments to recap. But, boy, you come off the LAFC game and things are tight and you're right there for the last stretches of the game, and then you give up 2 in the last few minutes, and then turn that attention to Minnesota. And I think on paper you're showing off a calm. He's getting his first start. Higuain's got fresh legs, and boy, there just wasn't much going on in terms of the connectivity going into the attack, was there?
There wasn't. In fact, it was kind of a drab game all across, I thought.
Sure.
Now, some of that has to do with the way Minnesota plays, as we talked about in advance of the match. They are far less disciplined in terms of structure as compared to some other teams in the league, including Columbus. So that in and of itself is a little bit unnerving because you don't really know what to expect each time they have the ball, as opposed to those teams that are constantly going down the same road. I still think that the good news is if you go back and you look at these games objectively, you can see that Columbus has been in these games, save maybe Houston as of late. They have created more than enough chances to have gotten the results, and they haven't. That can't continue for the rest of the season.
No.
But I don't think it's unfair either, and I don't think that Caleb Porter or the players, and we'll ask John, see what he thinks. I don't think anybody's making excuses. They're being honest, and if you look at those games, you can see they're there, but their margin for error right now, Neil, is probably as small as it's been in a long time, and you and I have seen it. To be this close, I think, is a big part of the frustration. If they just weren't a very good team, it would be different.
Lost 7 of 8. They have just 12 goals scored. I think everyone's aware in Crewville of the issues at hand and the old righting of the ship. Will that start in Colorado, a team that just got its first win, but the Crew notoriously have had tough stretches in Denver through the years. Their last win was 2015. Prior to that, 2009. So they go in long stretches, and Kai Kamara's there, and they've had some offense to that group, but give up a lot of goals. For Columbus, though, they're below the playoff line for the first time, and people could say, well, why are you talking about the playoffs now? Well, it matters now. I mean, we're almost at the midpoint of the season.
Season does pass quickly, even though it is extended. They are below the line, and there are teams behind them with games in hand, and suddenly we are talking about them. Look, this is a season of ups and downs, of fits and starts. They just got to get the brakes put on. We think there's going to be some movements made during the summer window. You just want to be in position to be in position, I guess, is what I'm saying. You don't want to lose touch with the guys above.
The old exercising patience, and I'm sure a bunch of people are rolling their eyes, but that's what you got to do at this point. And, man, a guy that's done that, Jon Kempin, goalkeeper who's playing his 20th game on Saturday of this past weekend in 10 years. So he got his first start of the season, and he gives his thoughts after this weekend's performance and what's ahead for the Crew. Welcome in, Jon Kempin, to Inside the Crew here on this Tuesday night. How you doing, John?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
Good. And I think, for the majority of us Crew fans out there, knowing that that game probably 9 times out of 10 will end 0-0, you're right there, and everyone wants to talk about the lack of offense. But you go up there, you're playing a tough environment, trying to get a road point, and unfortunately it doesn't break your way. And how do you read a game like that, and does it kind of topple on to what's been going on with the team just in terms of the struggles recently?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the game could have gone either way, all the way up till the 75th minute. Really, really good atmosphere, really, really, unbelievable stadium. I'm happy for the fans there in Minnesota. I'm happy for that team. Obviously the result didn't go our way, and it would have been nice to at least get out of there with a 0-0, shutout and result. But the big thing for me was, the defense and how resilient the guys were, and together we were through the entire 90 minutes. Even when we went down a goal, we were fighting back, clawing back, trying to get that goal to tie the game. But for me, we all stuck together. That was a positive, and we just got to continue to keep grinding. Keep doing the little things right, and keep sticking together. And the results will come. It's still somewhat early in the season. We had a really good results kind of right off the gate at the beginning of the season, which was good for us. Kind of put us in a good position. And now we're just kind of grinding and sticking together and continuing to put it all together because it is a long season.
Does it change the dynamic at all, John, when you look at this stretch of games that hasn't gone your way, but perhaps with the exception of the match at Houston, these are all games in which you're highly competitive, as you were at Minnesota. And this isn't Dwight and Neil or Caleb Porter making excuses for the team. The reality is you're not winning, but you are in these games. You're 85 minutes in with LAFC. That has to factor, I think, into the mindset of this veteran group of guys that you're going to come out of this.
Exactly. Like you said, I'm not one for excuses either, and we're not using excuses, but we are, in the game all the way up until the 70th, 80th, 90th minute, and because we're pushing to get a goal, we might concede another goal or two. So you may look at some of the score lines and go, they lost by a couple of goals, but the case is, the reality is that we are trying to go and now score goals. So, we might concede a couple in the back towards the end of the game. But we have been very competitive in all these games, and they've all been close games. And, this is a league of runs. Anybody can beat anybody here. And as long as you go on kind of a hot streak, you can accumulate some points very quickly. And I think if you look at the standings, everyone's pretty close still, even though, it's 1/3, kind of halfway through the season. So everyone's pretty close. And, you go on a run here, you get a couple points, we're right back in it. So we have been competitive, and we're still keeping a positive mindset, and we're taking, positives from every game. And like I said, we're continuing to do the little things right in training. And when you do that, the big things will come, and we'll get some goals, we'll get some wins, we'll get some points.
Goalkeeper Jon Kempin, our guest here on Inside the Crew. You sound like a veteran wise beyond your years of 26. But you've been in the league for 10 seasons now, and you've had your highs and lows of signing with Kansas City and going on loan and playing in L.A. and then now making your way over to Columbus. So you've had a lot of patience to exercise, not just in terms of the microcosm of this season, but in your professional career. Does that help in situations like these when the team might be going through a little bit of a dry spell, knowing even yourself wanting to play, you hang in there, you show up like a pro, you do your job when you're called upon, and that's the matter of fact.
Of course, yeah. I mean, I've seen a lot of different things, through my career. Has been in a lot of interesting situations, and I'm able to kind of use that to talk with maybe some of the younger guys, some of the guys who haven't been, in those situations before. And I think at the end of the day, just like I said earlier, taking positives from everything and continuing to put in the work in the training ground, because that's pretty much all you can do. There are a lot of things that are out of your control, and if you continue to focus on those things that are in your control, like how we training habits, listening to Caleb and the coaching staff, and sticking to the game plan, good things will come. There was a season where I think we lost 6 in a row in Kansas City, and we ended up coming back, winning the Eastern Conference at the end of the year. We were 0-6 to start the season. That's not a good position to be in, but we stayed resilient, and we did the small things. We stuck to the game plan, and we ended up, winning the Eastern Conference championship at the time. So, I'm not worried. Nobody here is worried. There's no panic button at all. It's just continuing to listen to Caleb and his coaching staff and, the game plan that he's put together for us. And, I know that good things will come here soon.
Well, certainly the team is staying focused, but you, by the nature of your position, also face a unique challenge where you haven't been seeing minutes on a regular basis, and now you're called in to start. And I know from the outside looking in, it's like, well, he's a professional. But what are the steps that you go through, one, just to keep yourself sharp at training each day, and then two, preparing to play a game when you hadn't been seeing minutes going into Minnesota?
Of course. It is a very odd position, having to come in at random times and always be ready. Even if you're on the bench, being ready. I know there's a couple times where I've had to come in, because of an injury or whatever, while the game's going on, and that's a very interesting, situation. But for me, I use training as my game because that's all I can do, So when we're playing small-sided games, or when we're, even playing 5v2 or doing shooting drills, I want to kind of win at all of those drills and do my best at all of those drills. And I know that if I continue to kind of keep a positive attitude, help the rest of the guys win, that will also put me in a good position to be ready for when my, name is called upon. So for me, it's just taking every single day, helping Zach, helping Joe, helping the other guys get ready for the games. And then in turn, that also helps me get ready and helps me, be the best that I can be.
Goalkeeper Jon Kempin, our guest here on Inside the Crew. We're going to have your good buddy and competitor Zack Steffen on the show with us next week, and his time with the club is coming to an end. Talk about how your relationship has evolved, not only on the training grounds and as teammates, but as friends. And you come into a situation where you're both competitive, want to start in a similar age range. Your relationship with Zack, how has that been through the last couple of years?
Unique, very unique. When I first came here, we're both young guys. I knew him a little bit from youth national team days, but I wasn't friends with him. I didn't know him too well. He actually took my spot a decent amount of times in youth national team tournaments, so I was actually a little mad at him. But I knew how good he was. I knew what a good pro he was. That I could learn from him, even though he's younger than me. So I was excited about the opportunity to come here. And then as kind of preseason went on and as time went on, we ended up becoming best friends, which is a unique situation because obviously I'm trying to play. And, he's the guy who has my spot. So I want to be competing with him. But we created kind of an interesting, good competition, if you will. We were always fighting for each other, or fighting against each other in training, trying to make each other better. And, in turn, created a good competition of who's going to play on the weekend, but also helped us become, better goalkeepers and better people. We live at the same apartment complex. So, we were able to hang out outside of the field as well and get to know each other. And that takes a lot of stress, off each other in training because, sometimes when you are fighting with someone, you can get into a hostile kind of goalkeeping unit. But having, Logan Ketterer and Ben Lundgaard last year and having Ben and Joe Bendick this year, we've had a really, really tight-knit goalkeeper group. And I think that's really helped with his success, and I think that's helped with our success as well by having that kind of competitive yet friendly goalkeeper core where we're always trying to get better every single day. And, I'm very, very happy for him. He's had a lot of success lately, and I'm excited to see where he goes with it. And I know that we'll stay in touch, especially when he leaves here.
I like to talk with coaches all the time about this following question. I'm going to put it to you, given what you've just said about Zach. You're a professional. You want to play. You work to play. You have yourself prepared every minute. But when you watch a guy like Zack Steffen, do you ever have a chance to maybe appreciate a little bit of what's unique about him as compared to what might be unique about you or some other goalkeeper?
Yeah, It's awesome to watch him because I'm able to pick up on tiny little things. I was talking earlier about the small things, and I'm able to pick up on those small things that he does that make a big difference in games. For example, I like to play with my feet. I've always been, decent with my feet, but coming here, he's helped just kind of give me a couple small little tips, but I've noticed a big difference, in my game and maybe creating less pressure for me, maybe in a game or in a training situation, just by a small little change that he's helped me create, and in turn, I think that I've also, helped him with some of my training habits. So we kind of feed off each other, which is, like I was saying earlier, a really unique situation that we have. And even bringing in, a veteran like Joe, he's had even more experience and even more games under his belt. And that's kind of helped both Zach and I, get better in areas that he can teach us.
See, this is what this show is all about. It's called Inside the Crew for a reason, folks. Yep. Great insight into the budding relationship over the last couple of seasons between Jon Kempin and Zack Steffen. Great stuff, John. True or false, the Chiefs get to the Super Bowl next year?
100% true.
Okay, so you're gonna be disappointed when I see you in late January, then, aren't you?
Not when you got the MVP on your team.
Watch out for those brownies now. Watch out for those brownies. John, good stuff. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Thanks, guys.
All right, all the best going forward.
Yeah, appreciate it.
That's Jon Kempin, Crew goalkeeper, coming off his first start of the season at Minnesota. Black and gold heading to the road to take on the Rapids this upcoming weekend. We'll come back. We'll talk more. Marcelo Balboa will join us. This is Inside the Crew.
Proud to be your go-to sports addiction for over 20 years. Your Buckeye flagship station, The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
You think buckling up is a personal choice? That it doesn't hurt anyone else? You would be wrong. Your choice could shatter the lives of your family, friends, and everyone you know. That's why we enforce seatbelt laws, to save lives. Think about that every time you drive. Buckling up isn't just a good idea, it's a choice between surviving a crash or not. Make sure you and everyone in the vehicle buckles up every time. Click it or ticket. Paid for by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
Award-winning beer, delicious dining, the greatest experiences, where luck is on your side. Welcome to El Dorado Scioto Downs, home to the hottest new games, family-style service, and more chances to win. What are you waiting for? Visit El Dorado Scioto Downs today, and you could be one of the next big winners. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
At First Commonwealth Bank, we know that financial confidence begins with the right checking account for the way you manage your money. That's why we offer a variety of checking options packed with online tools that make tracking your spending and balancing your accounts quick and convenient. And right now, when you open your new personal First Commonwealth checking account by June 14th, you could win a deluxe coffee maker too. No purchase necessary. Financial confidence begins at First Commonwealth Bank. Time to be first. Member FDIC.
Now that the warm weather is upon us, don't you think your roof should get looked at? Call Allstate Exteriors now for a free roof inspection. With over 25 years of roofing experience, Allstate Exteriors is your trusted local contractor. Visit Allstate Exteriors online at ohioroof.com.
Hi, this is Bob Masheter from Dick Masheter Ford, and we have rows and rows of trucks ready for your business or home project. We have built an inventory to be your truck destination. From work trucks to fully equipped mobile offices, we have your truck. Need to tow 5,000 pounds or 20,000 pounds? We have your truck. Dual wheels, goosenecks, or the smaller but amazing new Ranger. We have your trucks. Shop us 24/7 at masheterford.net. Closed Sundays, washing our trucks.
Listen to Men's Health Matters each Saturday morning at 7:30 on 1460 ESPN. Each week, medical professionals will provide info on men's health and what questions you should be asking. If you miss one, you can always find it online at 971thefan.com under shows.
Oh, the air is so stale in your car, dear. I'm gagging. Still able to speak, though. Don't you want fresh air for Granny's little darlings? All that dirt and odor outside gets into your car and into their precious lungs.
Well, you can't always choose what gets into your car.
Block and control odors in your car with the power of Febreze and Purolator Boss Premium Cabin Air Filters. Find your retailer at pureoil.com.
Do you know about Febreze, dear? At House of Your smells like a thrift store.
We can give our children a strong economy and a clean environment. The future is in our hands. Fair and responsible energy reform for today and tomorrow. The Ohio Clean Air Program ensures more clean energy generated in Ohio by Ohioans for Ohio. By modernizing our environmental goals, we encourage the growth of Ohio-made energy from wind, solar, and other sources that reduce carbon dioxide in our air. And by investing at home, not in other states, we will create new jobs and a better economy, helping Ohio families and entrepreneurs. The Ohio Clean Air Program improves our environment, creates jobs, and lowers what you pay for electricity. It's time to reform Ohio's energy goals. Protect what's precious. Call your representative at 800-282-0253. Encourage them to support the Ohio Clean Air Program. Don't let out-of-state profiteers continue to steal Ohio's jobs and our children's future. Paid for by Generation Now, Inc.
In the new 2019 Acura ILX, control is yours for the taking. Take control of your phone with available Android Auto integration. Take control of the conversation with the striking diamond Pentagon grille. And help keep things under control with Acura Watch Advanced Safety and Driver Assistance Technology Standard. Put control in your hands and test drive the ILX today. The new 2019 Acura ILX. Total control.
Visit your Central Ohio Acura dealers. Proud partners of Columbus Crew SC.
50 million Americans live with a brain or spine condition. For all those people, at Ohio Health, we never stop. turning crooked smiles into big grins after a stroke, and cautious steps into confident strides for those with Parkinson's disease. It's how we got to be one of the nation's 15 top health systems. Just like you never stop looking for answers, we never stop. Connect with us at ohiohealth.com/we never stop. Ohio Health Neuroscience. Believe in we.
Back to Inside the Crew. Here's Neil Sika and Dwight Burgess.
I can ride my bike with no handlebars, no handlebars, no handlebars. I can ride my bike with no handlebars, no handlebars, no handlebars.
Look at me. Welcome back. Here on Inside the Crew. Still to come, we'll preview the U-20 World Cup, which starts Thursday in Poland, with Brian Sciaretta of American Soccer Now. But in the meantime, let's preview this weekend's game, Dwight, shall we?
Why not? One of my all-time hair idols.
Yes, one of our big friends of the show through the years as we return to this 2019 season. He's a National Soccer Hall of Famer and always waxes poetic on the Colorado Rapids, longtime television analyst and a great career in his own right. Marcelo Balboa joins us here on Inside the Crew. Cello, how are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
Hey, we're great. We're great. Thanks for coming on. And like I said, right before we started this interview, throw out the streamers and confetti. First win for the Rapids in 2019, the last team to do so. What do you make of the sense of where the season has gone? They've already made the coaching change with Anthony Hudson, and Connor Casey steps in the interim. Where do you feel the state of this team is? And I know you can look at the record and say, man, it's gone south in a hurry. But there were a lot of people in the offseason that were cautiously optimistic about this group. And never say never, but why do you think they are where they are right now?
It's difficult. You have an off season and you bring in a guy like Kai Kamara, Benny Feilhaber. You're looking at Mosqueda, and you think to yourself, okay, you upgraded in a few positions. And now you're excited to see what happens at the beginning of the season. And then, God, I mean, I don't – we've been trying to figure this out for a while of where it went wrong, how it went wrong. And it's hard to pinpoint just because of the fact that, hey, listen, you've been close, but you've given up so many goals. And it's just one of those seasons where you look at and say, okay, can one win turn the season around? Can one win lead to a second win? Or can it lead to momentum? Will it lead? Will one win lead us into the transfer window? And do we need to go buy a set? All these things start questioning. But I think that at the beginning of the season, you read what MLS put out there, that Colorado had a good offseason. They picked up a few better players. And, you're optimistic. And then all of a sudden it just didn't sometimes it doesn't pan out.
So as you look forward from your perspective, where do you start over? Are you in process? Is there one step that you feel needs to be taken before another?
There's already been a few big steps. When Benny Feilhaber goes back to Sporting Kansas City, Anthony Hudson gets fired. Now you've got to. It's like having a hole in a boat. You've got to patch it, and you've got to let it go for a little while to see if that patch is going to hold. So right now, I think it's stabilizing the boat, seeing what Connor Casey does here in the next 4 or 5 games, and then I think you can make a decision. But you can't make a rash decision off one win or one loss. Or, you've got to let the boat settle in. Players get settled into to see what Connor's philosophy is and what he's going to do, and then you can make an informed decision there. But yeah, I think it's stabilized a little bit. There's no doubt with Jonathan Lewis coming in and Lawless coming in, it's definitely stabilized the back line, because that's been, let's be honest, since last year, I think that's probably been our biggest weakness.
Marcelo Balboa is our guest here on Inside the Crew. You mentioned Lawless Aboubacar, an intra-league loan completed at the end of the primary transfer window. Lawless has started the last 2 games for the Rapids. You mentioned the leaking of goals, 30, although a shutout against the Galaxy in the first win. Man, every opportunity under the Tuscan sun seemed to go either off the post or cleared off the line in that game on Sunday against the Galaxy. But what do you think is the key to tightening up this defense and making sure that Tim Howard goes out in good stead because he's making a lot of saves as he has been the last couple of years.
Yeah, I don't think it's about Tim Howard. I think it's about athleticism in the back because Tim Howard's going to be Tim Howard. Tim Howard's going to make the saves. He's going to keep you in a game, but he can't expect him to make 10 to 15 saves a game. So I think having someone like Wallace come in, somebody who is very athletic, who is a very hard-nosed defender who, if he has to clear the ball, he'll clear the ball. If he's got to win a header, he'll run through you to get the ball. That's helped out tremendously in that back line of closing and solidifying that. It's gotten better. I'm not saying that's the fix, but that was a huge step as finding a center back who is very athletic, who has great close-down speed, and he's made a difference over the last 2 games.
How about from the external position? How are the fans, the supporters, following this? I imagine there's some frustration, but all in all, do you think as this gets ironed out that support's going to continue to be there?
I think so. People were very down on the club. Like normal, you're not winning, you're frustrated.
Sure.
And then all of a sudden you get a win and everybody's somewhat back on track. You know what I mean? They're starting to realize, okay, we can win. We beat LA. They're in third place. So I think that, again, a few wins, a few results, we'll say, even if it's a tie down the road here in the next 4 or 5 games, you start building momentum, the fans start believing again. So it's just a matter of, again, not leaking goals and getting some results over the next 4 or 5 games.
Marcelo Balboa, you know his resume by now. He's our guest here on Inside the Crew as we talk Rapids ahead of the 9 o'clock kickoff on Saturday. You can catch that right here on The Fan. It's interesting, and you know this following the league since its beginning, how you can come back to the means really quickly. I mean, 3 years ago, this team is in the conference finals, and a fan favorite, a great player in his own right, and Pablo Mastroeni, leads them there, and then you hire Anthony Hudson. I think we can say that was a misfire at this point, and some of the international signings haven't panned out over the last couple of years. Where do you think the future and the direction of the head coaching position and the leadership level, and I know a lot of people will get on Stan Kroenke, and I'm not asking you to, but what do you want to see that makes for a little bit of a decompression from all of this and saying that it's going to be in the right direction? We've got good bearings upon us to get it right.
Well, that's a great question. One, I think right now you got to give Connor Casey an opportunity to lay his work down and see what he can do. If it's not done there, I look at it as we've got a very young team. There's a coach out there who is working with a lot of young players over the last 6 to 8 years. I think he would be a great opportunity to bring into a club like this if it doesn't work out for Connor Casey. I think you also have to look at defensively. If we're going to turn this around, like you said, some of the signings have not panned out. So you've got to switch it up. When you're leaking a lot of goals, you're scoring goals now. So the biggest problem is how do you fix the back line? How do you adjust and find those players that can help you? Because, listen, you win championships through defense. If you don't leak goals, and if you go back to 2016, we didn't leak a lot of goals. We won a lot of games, 1-0. We won a lot of games in the last 15 minutes of the game. And you've got to find, not everybody can spend the money that LAFC does or Atlanta or Toronto. That's just not possible, So you've got to be able, for me, is how well do you spend your budget? How well do you scout and find those players that will benefit you 3, 4, 5 years on your team? But you've got to be able to again, you've got to be able to stretch that budget out if you're not going to spend a lot and find the right players.
This is the 20th anniversary year of the opening of what we call Mafre Stadium today, Crew Stadium, and one of the highlights in the past 2 decades has been the 2000 goal of the year in MLS. What do you remember about that? And I'm sure the older you get, the better you were.
I'll be completely honest with you. To this day, I got a concussion early in the game. I believe it was Brian McBride clobbered me in the back of the head. And to this day, the only reason I remember that goal is because I went back and saw it on tape and they showed it to me. And my roommate told me it was on ESPN that night. And, I got to be honest with you. I look back at it and I say, man, what a great goal. I wonder if I would have played better if I had more concussions. You know what I mean? But
maybe you did. You just can't remember.
Exactly. You know, I just remember that stadium was the first soccer-specific stadium. And, just thrilled when we were able to walk in there. So we used to play at Ohio State. So when we walked into that stadium, it was like, okay, we've arrived. MLS is here to stay because they're starting to build soccer-specific stadium, and Columbus was the group that led that charge.
All right, well, for nostalgia, which we are waxing poetic on, weekly wager, Saturday night, Columbus, Colorado, lone meeting of the year, Rapids coming off their first win. We'll put up an old Mafre Stadium bench seat because this thing's going to be obsolete, or it's not going to be hosting Crew games in a couple of years, and then we'll do something for Mile High from back in your playing days. So, Cello, give us the honors. What do you think is going to happen on Saturday?
You know, I think there's a few factors. I always have to stick with the home team being the broadcaster. I think that they've finally figured out a few things. And if Colorado can stop Zardes and a few other offensive-minded players that they have, I think they could win. So I'll go 2-1 Colorado.
Dwight, Denver has been a damning place for the Crew through the years.
I have called one Crew loss after another in that city since 1996. These are certainly not two teams playing at their best at the moment. No. And I actually think that makes for a potentially very exciting game because you're not entirely sure what to expect. So obviously, with the Crew, you want them to get out of there. I think at this point, something positive. They get a goal and a point. I think that's good. Anything beyond that is great. And I'm just looking forward to them finding their way out and seeing if this is a next stage in Colorado's development. So I think it's going to be an entertaining match.
All right, good stuff. 9 o'clock kickoff between the Pids and the Crew coming up on Saturday on Sports Time Ohio and The Fan. You can hear it right here with Chris Dorr. Marcelo Balboa, our guest here. Thanks so much. Great stuff, and we always look forward to talking to you, and we'll catch you down the road.
I appreciate it for having me on, fellas. Have a great day.
All righty. That's Marcelo Balboa, Rapids analyst. When we come back, we'll talk U-20 World Cup with Brian Sciaretta of American Soccer Now. Stay with us inside the Crew.
The Fan's Bo Bishop and NFL and Buckeye linebacker James Laurinaitis. Bishop and Laurinaitis. Weekdays 10 to noon. Sports Radio 97.1 The Fan.
If your hair is thinning or falling out, what's your first call? To Van Scoy Hair Clinics, the only clinic in Ohio to offer multi-unit hair grafting that restores more hair in one procedure and all the latest solutions to restore your hair. And they've been doing that for over 40 years right here in Ohio. Here's some satisfied clients.
If I'm going to get hair, it's got to look good, you know? And I was blown away.
I got to say, I recommend it to anybody that doesn't feel their age. And actually, I feel younger than my age.
Multi-unit hair grafting can restore more hair than traditional hair transplants, saving you time and money. In less than 1 hour, you can find out if multi-unit hair grafting can work for you for natural, permanent results. Call now, and 97.1 The Fan listeners receive $250 off, a free evaluation, and $250 off. Call Van Scoy Hair Clinics at 614-432-8042. That's 614-432-8042. Results may vary. VanScoyHair.com or 432-8042 right now.
We can't all be Tiger Woods or Jason Day or 2018 winner Bryson DeChambeau. But one thing is for sure, we are all fans of 1 week when the world's top golfers come to Muirfield Village Golf Club. Because for fans and pros alike, there's always something to get excited about at the Memorial Tournament presented by Nationwide. Buy a badge, be a fan. May 27th through June 2nd. Purchase your badge at memorialbadges.com.
Hear that? That's the sweet sound of Minute Maid slushies at McDonald's, turning up your summer. Every sip, slurp, and brought to you by 3 refreshingly chilled flavors like blue raspberry, fruit punch, and new sweet peach. Only at McDonald's and only for summer. At participating McDonald's for a limited time. Minute Maid is a trademark of the Coca-Cola Company.
It's the morning carpool. Nothing like a little peace and quiet. Stopping for a coffee. And the glazed donut you'll eat in your car where no one can judge you. You do you, baby. A trip to the car wash. Now that's dirty. BP gasoline with Invigorate helps clean your engine, giving you more miles per tank and more getting it done per tank. BP. Every day, brighter. Versus minimum detergent gas. Average stored 3 to 5 miles per tank with continuous use based on fleet testing and based on what you drive and how you drive.
Buckeye Lake Marina knows individuality is important. That's why they take great pride in paying close attention to their customers' boating needs and interests. Buckeye Lake Marina is family owned and operated and can provide you with the latest and best in water sport products to make your outdoor living more enjoyable. Don't miss out on the huge savings this boating season on popular brands like Bennington, South Bay, Crown Line, and more. Check out Central Ohio's largest selection of over 100 new and used boats inside Buckeye Lake Marina's 15,000 square foot showroom. Visit BuckeyeLakeMarina.com today, and we'll see you on the water.
My house has a new glow. I love my windows. Universal Windows Direct.
Common Man here. Right now, for every window you buy, you get the next one free. No limits and 0% financing for 36 months. Call 614-221-0700 or go to UniversalWindowsDirect.com. Like me, you'll be saying, I love my windows.
I love my windows. They've got that brand new home effect. Universal Windows Direct.
Say, have you ever noticed how some people have this drive-through voice? You know, they'll hit the Tim Hortons drive-through and be all like, I'll have a coffee and a donut. Now, I get it. It is exciting to order food from your car, especially when it's an Oreo Iced Cap Supreme. So creamy and frosty, blended with bits of Oreo cookies. Wow! Soon you'll be at a Tim Hortons drive-thru and be all like, I'll have an Oreo Iced Cap Supreme, please. Hurry to Tim Hortons now for an Oreo Iced Cap Supreme. For a limited time at participating restaurants. Oreo is a trademark of Mondelez International Group used under license.
Want to know anything about the fans contest, how to win, or what's up for grabs? Check out 971thefan.com. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Back to Inside the Crew. Here's Neil Sika and Dwight Burgess.
Welcome back. Inside the Crew on this Tuesday night. Summer of soccer is coming up. And it's not just the Gold Cup catching the eye, the U-20 World Cup. A lot of the youth internationals from the United States, including the U-17s later in the year, will have their spotlight as Poland takes center stage 2 days from now. We caught up with Brian Sciaretta of American Soccer Now, who breaks down the tournament for us. All right, we're going to talk a little FIFA U-20 World Cup. It starts on Thursday in Poland. The United States, after a couple of runs of the knockout rounds, the last two go-rounds in 2015 and 17, at it on Thursday against Ukraine, Qatar, and Nigeria, the other members of the Americans group. And these are the rising stars. The next look at the national team pool at the senior level. And Brian Sciaretta covering the tried and true of the youth internationals through the years. He writes at American Soccer Now, New York Times, and Soccer America. How you doing, Brian?
Oh, thank you very much for having me on. I appreciate it.
Brian, this group of Americans for Tab Ramos going into 2019, there's been a lot of hype surrounding this group, and there are 10 players from MLS that are on the current roster. What do you make of their ceiling after runs against pretty good teams in Venezuela and Serbia that knocked them out in the previous editions of this tournament?
I mean, I think it's a very good team. Yeah, but Tab Ramos said it best: is you never know what kind of opposition you're going to be running into because everyone has a new slate of players every single time. This isn't like a real senior national teams where they things kind of carry over. I mean, you could have teams that normally aren't contenders at the senior level all of a sudden be contenders at the youth level. We've seen that with Nigeria and Serbia. And I understand Ukraine has a very good team, so it's going to be a very big test for the U.S. team. But that being said, I think Tab's got a very good squad of players and one that I think should be able to compete in this tournament.
What do you make of the talk, and even Greg Berhalter has said this in the past, that generational gap that kind of missed out in terms of the youth development and then them taking their place along the senior national team and having that effect, and, of course, the catastrophe of missing out on Russia last year. Where do you think this group, in terms of the U-20s or even the U-17s, kind of can set the tone and maybe make up for that lost time or looks to be a more promising generation of player that can have that effect at a younger age.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's always too early to specifically get into the U-17 level. In terms of individual success, that age group is more or less best evaluated from a broad perspective of looking at the talent pool and where they are. Do they all have good, clean touches? Do they read the game well? Because you don't know. There's a lot of things that could derail a player's career at that age. The U-20s, it starts getting a little more serious where you can start seeing where these players are able to fit in and start to forecast a little bit out into a couple of years into their career. And it looks promising. There's no doubt about it. I mean, one thing that I think you have to understand that's impressive with this U-20 team and the last U-20 team is that they're going into this tournament without their two best players again. In 2017, they went in without Christian Pulisic and Weston McKennie.
Mm-hmm.
This year, they're going in without Tyler Adams and Josh Sargent. So, in a sense, they've never had to do that before. So this is kind of interesting. How they're going in without their best team and still being able to compete. So that all bodes well. But of course, so much. There's still things that could go wrong between having a good U-20 player and bringing a good senior player, and so much will have to be made about the decisions over their club careers, where to bring that, and finding places where they can develop and play and grow as a player. And those things have yet to take place. But it does look very encouraging. I mean, you have players now that are regular starters for their clubs, and even players who didn't make this team are very impressive. I could put together a team that could go far at the U-20 World Cup of American players that are eligible but didn't make this team. So it's encouraging to see. Because youth development is still a numbers game. You need a lot of good young players to build a pool with for the future senior national team, because like some of these players that we think are great now won't be there, and some of the players that aren't here will turn out to be great. So you need a lot of players, and they do.
Talking U-20 World Cup, which starts on Thursday in Poland this week, with Brian Sciaretta of American Soccer Now. You mentioned some very good players. Tim Weah, of course, was the headline name that is on this roster. Paxton Pomykal, FC Dallas, has had a breakout season, and everyone's been talking about him for the last couple of years within the MLS circles. Cerrillo, his teammate there, has started on a regular basis. What other names should we keep an eye out on this American roster that could make some waves?
I mean, I think Serginho Dest, the right back from Ajax, looks very, very good, especially pushing forward into the attack. Mark McKenzie, the central defender, was named about an hour ago by Tab Ramos as the team's captain for the U-20 World Cup. There were some question marks about how he would be for this tournament because he had just recently had his appendix removed and hadn't played in a game since then. But this announcement would seem to mean that he's back and healthy. There's Conrad De La Fuente is a very, very good winger at Barcelona, and I think Chris Durkin, the defensive midfielder for DC United, and Chris Richards, the center back, will probably partner with Mark McKenzie. He's at Bayern Munich, was sold by FC Dallas in the offseason, and these are the names of players that I think could do very good things at the World Cup. And it'll be interesting because it's a heavily scouted tournament, so it could really drive up the value for all of these players. There's typically always some players, even on the U.S. team that catch the name of scouts. I mean, it was Chelsea discovered Matt Miazga at the 2015 U-20 World Cup. So it's an exciting time for these players on an individual basis, not just only what they can do for the U.S. team.
No doubt about that. Brian Sciaretta is our guest here on Inside the Crew. American Soccer Now, his publication that he writes for, and we're talking U-20 World Cup. Of course, breakout stars go back 2 tournaments ago. Zack Steffen, who, of course, has had a wonderful 2.5 years in Columbus and will be on his way to Manchester City. There's another Crew player on this roster. I don't think many in the American soccer lexicon are all that familiar yet with Aboubacar Keita, but what do you make of his selection? He played 1 year at Virginia. We even haven't seen him a lot here in Columbus. He's been on loan for a couple of games with the Richmond Kickers.
I spoke to Tab Ramos about him a couple of times, and Tab singled him out to me as a guy who he hasn't really started playing with this team until the January camp, which was after the team qualified for the World Cup, and he did well there. And he did well at the March camp in Spain, where they tied France and beat Japan. And he's good on the ball, and central defense is a thin position for this U.S. team, and unfortunately, with McKenzie had the appendix removed, so we were wondering, and Keita is the next guy to step into central defense, and if there's an injury, but he was dealing with a hamstring injury recently. I know he's on loan with the Richmond Kickers out of Columbus. So, unfortunately, he's had a little bit of injuries. I think he's only going to get on the field if McKenzie and Richards are injured or suspended or need a rest, which is certainly very possible. Tabs, always have to use a big group of players, not just 11, for this tournament. So I think it's a great opportunity for him, and if he gets in the game, that's a very important position at this level, because I think central defense, how good your central defense team is often determines how far you go in this tournament.
Brian Sciaretta, our guest here on Inside the Crew, talking U-20 World Cup, which starts Thursday. Just a couple more questions for you, Brian. I mentioned the expectations maybe around this American team. You said it's a good team. Where do you see their run going? Semifinals? Is that a little too optimistic? Where do you think they could go?
Oh, Chris Richards told me last year, we're definitely going to the semifinals. And you like the optimism. I think they can get out of their group. They should, and then when you get out of the group, it really comes down to the luck of the draw and who your opponent you face. You could face an unbelievable team, in the knockout stages, or you could face a beatable team. I mean, 2 years ago it was New Zealand that they faced in the round of 16, and then they walked over, very easily, 5-0 or 6-0. I forget what the score was. And then in 2015 they had to pull a big upset win over Colombia to make it to the quarterfinals, and that was they were outplayed. Steffen came up with a big penalty save in that game. It was one of the best U-20 games under Tab, best results he's ever achieved was that game. So you never know. But most importantly, in terms of how far you go, success is just what kind of style can you play? Can you take the game to these opponents? Can you play against these good teams and actually control the ball and have a lion's share of possession? And sometimes it'll work out for you, sometimes it won't if you can do that. But, yeah, I think this team should be gearing to at least match what the last 20 teams did and get to the quarterfinals. And of course, you push for the semis and be the best team that this country's ever had at the U-20 level. But, whether or not that happens, who knows? You could still be a successful tournament if they don't reach it. But, this team has enough talent where they should be gunning for big things.
If you were a betting man, not saying that you are, who would you pick to win this whole thing?
Oh, I think you always look at those South American teams. I think that they could, Brazil, Argentina, those kind of teams are the best. But, it is such a crapshoot that we will have to see. I do not want to be a betting man in youth soccer. It's like
that's right.
It is
exactly right.
It is not the thing to be a betting person.
Well, that's why we're going to enjoy the games, and it kicks off a great soccer summer. Brian Sciaretta, American Soccer Now. Great insight, Brian. Thanks so much. Enjoy the tournament, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you very much. Anytime.
All right, so good stuff as the U-20s, one of the youngest teams at this edition's tournament, will be in action on Thursday against the Ukraine. We'll come back on Inside the Crew, wrap up the show here on 97.1 The Fan.
Radio. It opens your mind to stimulating conversation and live sports. And best of all, it still costs $0. The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
For over 70 years, Mafre Insurance has been offering Ohio customers a full range of insurance solutions for their home and automobiles in partnership with a broad network of independent agents, helping you get the right insurance for your cars and homes, along with extra coverage like umbrella insurance, is what we pride ourselves on. Contact your independent agent to learn more about what Mafre can do for you, or visit mafreinsurance.com/crewsc.
Finding your beach with a Corona can sounds exactly the same as finding your beach with a Corona bottle. To prove it, listen as this man relaxes with the Corona can. Well, this man has a Corona bottle. Can. Bottle. Once more, a Corona can. Well, they still sound almost exactly the same. The Corona can. Another way to find your beach. Please drink responsibly. Corona Extra Beer. Imported by Crown Imports, Chicago, Illinois.
Ohio Power Tool is your local trusted provider of tools and supplies to help you get any job done right. Now you can get even better deals on Milwaukee, Makita, Steel, and other professional-grade power equipment at the Ohio Power Tool Open House on May 23rd. There will be demos, door prizes, and more. You'll also get a $10 gift card for every $100 you spend, on top of existing promos. Don't shop at a big box. You'll overpay. Swing by the shop at 999 Goodell Boulevard, or browse everything Ohio Power Tool has to offer at ohiopowertool.com.
Living in Denial, Ohio, it's really nice.
Because when we hear about the opioid crisis, we know it's not going to happen here.
It just feels safe and secure being in denial.
There's like a peace of mind.
Opioids? It doesn't happen here.
No.
My daughter has good friends.
My boys would tell me anything.
Exactly.
No, our kids are way too busy. They would never abuse opioids.
Welcome to Denial.
Don't live in denial, Ohio. Talk to your kids about drugs and they'll be up to 50% less likely to use them. Find out more at don'tliveindenial.org. A message from the Ohio Opioid Education Alliance.
Award-winning beer, delicious dining, the greatest experiences, where luck is on your side. Welcome to El Dorado Scioto Downs, home to the hottest new games, family-style service, and more chances to win. What are you waiting for? Visit El Dorado Scioto Downs today, and you could be one of the next big winners. Must be 21. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-589-9966.
Domino's $5.99 carry-out pizza deal. So amazing, we can't even talk about it on the air.
Sure we can. It's a large Domino's pizza with any 2 toppings for just $5.99.
It's a price so low, we can't even say it out loud.
I just did. It's $5.99.
We're not even allowed to think about this limited time offer.
Is this how you really talk?
Yes.
Backed by popular demand, it's Domino's $5.99 carry-out pizza deal. This week only, get a large pizza with any 2 toppings of your choice for just $5.99. Now through May 26th, only at Domino's.
Carry out only. You must ask for this limited time offer. Prices, participation, and charges may vary.
At Midas, you'll find all the expertise you need to take care of your car. From brakes to tires to oil to everything. You can count on Midas to tell you what needs fixing now and what can wait. So whether your check engine light just went on or you remembered that it's time for your regularly scheduled oil change, now is the time to head over to your locally owned and operated Midas. We'll tell you what needs fixing now and what can wait. Come on by and see us. For brakes, tires, oil, everything. Trust the Midas touch.
Hey golfers, do you want to lower your handicap? This is Dr. Ann Taylor of Aesthetica Surgery and Spa. I help men and women lower their handicaps in the game of life. I perform plastic surgery as well as non-surgical procedures like cool sculpting and Botox. So while I can't help you on the course, I can help you feel more confident, healthier, and just better about yourself. And who knows, maybe you will lower your handicap. Call 614-569-2649 or go to dranntaylor.com.
Back to Inside the Crew. Here's Neil Sika and Dwight Burgess.
Hang me out to dry and you got nothing to lose.
All righty. Back here for our final few minutes on this week's show. And I kind of teased this when we were talking to Jon Kempin, but we will have Zack Steffen next week because that's heading into what will be, whether he plays or not, his final match with the Crew. And then the Gold Cup gets going. The Gold Cup camp for the European players opens on the 27th. But Big 23's time is coming to an end here in the bus.
And I can't imagine that he's at all thrilled with what's been happening. I know he wanted to be part of this team moving forward, and it's bad enough when you're going through a rough time, but you want to kind of be in it together, right? And they're going through this rough patch, and he's going to be moving on and not able to be a part of the full recovery. At the same time, hopefully, first and foremost, he's healthy, Neil. That's the most significant piece. But if he is healthy and he at least can get some time in the final game or two, he might be able to help begin turning that corner.
Yeah, he comes off a minor concussion, which is why he didn't play against Minnesota. We'll see his status going forward for this game at Colorado on Saturday. That's 9 o'clock. Chris Doran with the coverage starting at 8:30 here on The Fan. And we'll be with you on Sports Time Ohio from Dick's Sporting Goods Park in Commerce City. Anyone want to guess where that is? 6.5 miles. I'm just telling you, 6.5 miles northwest of downtown Denver.
And it's still closer to downtown Denver than the Denver airport.
Yes, that is true, which might as well be in Montana.
I think it is.
You can guarantee a ticket to the August Tell Is Real match with a 2019 crew partial plan. A commitment of only 4 matches is necessary. 447 crew for more information. And next week, mentioning this is the last game before the Gold Cup break. It's the last home game before the Gold Cup break. And there are 3 home games in June. June 1st against New York City, Pride Night celebration. You can add to ColumbusCrewSC.com. I mentioned the 3 matches in June. Not only do you have the Pride Night, Celebration Women in Sports, Circle of Honor, and you have individual match tickets on sale for all of those games. Circle of Honor, the late Ziggy Schmid going in against Orlando City, Fireworks Alumni Night. All your information, ColumbusCrewSC.com. And get on that as we'll see what the 3 home games in June provide. But this is a Rapids game, too. You look at their record, I would like to exhale and say they got their first win, so it's not like, man, the sky is falling, the crew, nothing's going their way, and then you go and play the team that's the worst in the league based on the standings and lose that game. We know that MLS doesn't work that way, but they're going to be up for it. I like what you said earlier. Both teams are struggling. It could be an open-ended affair and a wild and entertaining game.
Well, hopefully it will be. It'll be a lot of fun. It has been a difficult place to play, but I don't think Columbus can really worry about any of that stuff right now. They got to go put their best foot forward and get themselves a couple of wins heading into the Gold Cup break. There are going to be some roster changes coming over the course of the summer, so that's the plan. But the backside of having already played 6 of the first 9 at home and then having 3 in June at home is there's a lot of road action that's coming up over the second half of the season. And getting points on the road in this league is not easy. Look, we saw what happened to the Galaxy when they came to Columbus, LAFC, 85 minutes in. It's a 1-goal game. Galaxy go down again without Zlatan being able to play. He's missing a couple. So you can't go into the second half of the season being so far away from the top half of the pack that it's going to be next to impossible to catch them. You've got to stay connected until you can get that forward movement again.
One game tomorrow in MLS, the Red Bulls, with 10 men who beat Atlanta on the weekend, they get Vancouver at Red Bull Arena. Orlando and LA, RSL Atlanta, LAFC, Montreal. Those are the Friday games. Saturday, you've got Chicago and New York City. Vancouver hosting Dallas. New England gets D.C. Cincinnati gets the Red Bulls, so they've got a busy week. New York's team. Philadelphia and Portland. Minnesota and Houston. The late game on Saturday is the crew game against Colorado. And then Sunday, you are entertained with Kansas City, Seattle, Toronto, San Jose. How about Wondolowski? 4 goals. That's the way to break a record, by the way. You score 4 goals.
And most of them were just odd goals. Just deflections and different things. But he did what he does, and he took advantage.
He's first all-time. You know who's 5th on that all-time goal-scoring list, Dwight?
Who's that?
Kai Kamara. Can you believe that? 119 goals, but he's staying in the league that long, and you have the propensity to knock it in with your forehead, and he's turned into a pretty darn good career here, despite the fact that he's played for so many different teams.
I think it's a fair assessment. The guy's always been a quality player, there's no question, and looks like he is beginning to find a groove in Colorado, so we'll see where he is. But again, I'll go back to the point that I think Columbus just has to worry about Columbus.
All right. Well, with that, we're pretty much out of time.
Well, then we need to get off the air.
We need to go. We'll go celebrate a little birthday beer. Here we go. How about that? You in?
Happy birthday tomorrow, Neil.
All right. Happy birthday to you, Dwight.
Yeah.
And everybody out there, happy birthday.
No matter when it is.
No matter when it is. We all have birthdays. Colin Behringer, our producer, happy birthday to you.
Yeah, he has a birthday, too.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll be back with you next week. Get you ready for New York City. Thanks to our guest, Jon Kempin, Marcelo Balboa, the National Soccer Hall of Famer and Rapids analyst, and American Soccer Now's Brian Sciaretta. We'll talk to you next week at 9 o'clock on Tuesday night, the 28th. Dwight?
Neil?
We'll see you. Thanks for listening. Have a good night.
Random movie quotes.
You are one pathetic loser.
With some sports mixed in. Carpenter and Rothman.
Weekdays from noon to 3.
The Fan, Ohio's sports destination.
Papa John's believes it's good to be different, so we've added 6 new pizzas to our handcrafted specialty menu. Because no one rolls with an all-cheese crew. So get together and figure out who's a meatball and pepperoni and who's an ultimate pepperoni. Who's a flying Hawaiian or a zesty Italian? And who gets the title of Mr. or Miss Congeniality? The pepperoncini. That's all the ingredients you need for a good time. And right now, get any large specialty for just $12. Better ingredients, better pizza. Papa John's. At participating U.S. stores, taxes and delivery fee extra.
From the opening kickoff through the 90th minute, your Columbus Crew SC never stops battling to secure a victory. And at Medical Mutual, we never stop working to provide high-quality health insurance plans for individuals, families, and businesses throughout Ohio. Every day, our goal is to offer members an extensive network of doctors and hospitals, 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 network